what's up YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video game review. And for this review, we're going to be taking a look at SNK Heroine Tag Team Frenzy for the Nintendo Switch, also available on the PS4, but for this review, we're going to be looking at the Nintendo Switch version. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage of me playing the game, I'll have a link in the description of this video, although it's worth pointing out I'm not exactly great at fighting games, to be exact, though. Alright. SNK is a name that a lot of those who grew up in the 80s and 90s may remember. They produced a lot of arcade games back in the day, even the famous Neo Geo, which some of those Neo Geo arcade machines would have different games in them. And while they're known for their fighting games like Samurai Showdown, Art Fighting, Fatal Fury, and of course the King of Fighters series, I remember them producing a lot of interesting beat-em-ups and platformers and brawlers like, say, I think Shungu, SEN, I think KOU, if I'm saying the name correctly though, with the third entry being my favorite one though, Shock Trooper 1 and 2, the Metal Slug series with Metal Slug 3 being my all-time favorite, and of course some absurd ones like Super 8-Man to even the Super Spy, which to me I look at it as being it's so bad it's good though. But most people remember them from their fighting games, and while SNK has certainly got its fan base though, the company hit hard times in the past. I think in 2001 they shut down until I think another company bought them out. But recently they've been making a resurgence. I think a Chinese firm invested in them. I'm not 100% sure about that. And lately they've been producing out some games as well. I think their last one was the King of Fighters. I think that was King of Fighters 16. Pardon me if I'm saying the name wrong, to be exact. And lately they've also been supporting the Nintendo Switch with a lot of their back catalogs of games as well. And recently they just put out their first retail Switch game though, although this is also on the PS4, and that is SNK Heroines though. But is it any good? And to me, it's an interesting game though, but there are certain things that might not appeal to everybody. So why don't we get started with the pros and cons. We'll start off first with the pros. And the first pro I want to talk about is the controls. I will say that the control scheme that they had set up for this fighting game, to be exact, is very simple though. Basically you have a heavy attack, light attack, a throw, and of course you have basically one button to do a special move. Some of them may require you to push forward and push A, or back and push A, although you can customize that kind of setting in the option menu as well. So the controls are very simple. So if you're not one of those people, or if you're one of those people like me who have a hard time with fighting games, who have a hard time trying to enter in the buttons and commands like that, then you'll probably like this game over the fact that it has this simple control scheme that might appeal to you. And the next thing, and the last one I want to point out, is the fighting mechanics in this game. And this one is kind of interesting though. Unlike a traditional fighting game where there's I think there's 3 rounds. If you win first person who wins round 2, if you win round 1, you have to win round 2 to win that fight. If you lose that one, it goes into round 3, and whoever wins that one, I think, wins that fight, and so forth. So instead of following a traditional fighting game, it follows one kind of somewhat similar, not entirely how it is, but somewhat similar to how it is with the classic Marvel vs. Capcom. I'm talking about the old school one where you could switch out between, you can have two characters, you could switch out between them and all. The difference between that one and this one is that you have items that you can use to hurt your opponents, and on top of that, in order to win a match, you have to basically not only knock your opponent's energy down, but you have to perform what's called a dream finisher, if I'm saying the name correctly, where basically you have a pink meter that fills up, and when that fills up, you hit the R button and your character performs a special move. If you hit it when you see this, when you hear sort of the bell sign, that's an indication that that your opponent's health is down and you can take them out with a special move. When you do that, you win that match. So basically, it's not like where if that character is defeated, your partner comes in. It doesn't act like how it is in the classic Marvel vs. Capcom style. So it's an interesting fighting mechanic that they took, and I applaud SNK for doing something a little bit different with their fighting games compared to, say, like a traditional fighting games in a way. So I will give SNK credit for that, though. Okay, we'll take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, which are the cons. So we'll take a little break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our video review of the Switch version of SNK Heroine Tag Team Frenzy, also available on the PlayStation 4 as well. So now that we gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? And there are really 3 cons, although I will say the third one is sort of not a huge con, but I just question SNK's decision on this. So technically you could say this is just 2 cons as well. So we'll start off with the first one, and that is about the simple control scheme, though. Now, as I mentioned in the pros, I talked about how I liked the simple control scheme that they had in the game, where basically it was like, like one touch to do special moves. And as someone who's not technically great at fighting games and all that stuff, I really like that they have that option, to have that way to play the game as well. So I really like that they had that simple control scheme. That said, I can also see it kind of being a bit of a turn-off for some people, because there's no way to sort of turn the simple control scheme off or anything like that. It's basically you have to use that kind of control scheme. So if you're the kind of person who's into that hardcore fighting games, performing certain special moves like back towards or something like that, or again, I really don't know a lot of fighting game mechanics now, though, but if you're that kind of person, or if you're a longtime SNK fighting game fan, the simple control scheme might be a turn-off for some people. It might not be an issue like for me, which is not really that great at fighting games, but for longtime fighting game fans, that might be a completely different story. So it's going to depend on whether you like the control scheme or not. The next one I want to talk about, and again, not the hugest con with the control scheme, but still one to point out, and that is the story. And honestly, the plot is, in my opinion, forgettable. I mean, there is a story in there, but it doesn't pull you in and say, like, if you were playing something like Horizon Zero Dawn or God of War, or even Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild for that matter. It's forgettable, though. I mean, mostly it's a fan service kind of a story, though, but which, honestly, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's not a terrible thing or anything like that, but if you're not a big fan of fan service or anything like that, this won't appeal to you. Although I would like to say, while it is a fan service story, I don't see, it's not exactly at the level of, say, like, the Serene Kagura series would be. So it's still fan service, but not that kind of fan service in a way. But in other words, the story is certainly forgettable, at least the way I see it, though. And last but not least, and again, this isn't a high con, but I do kind of question SNK's decision to do this, and that is Terry Bogard, one of the main characters from the Fatal Fury series, who's also in the King of Fighters series, is a woman. Really, SNK? Really? Out of all the female characters you could have picked for SNK Heroine Tag Team Frenzy, I mean, you could have picked, I think, Rhonda Pink from the Super Spy, to maybe another female character from Samurai Showdown, or maybe King, if I'm saying her name correctly, from, like, the Art of Fighting, or from the King of Fighters series, to hell, why not Eerie and Fio from the Metal Slug series? They would have been a perfect fit for here. But really? Terry Bogard, a woman? I can't imagine what kind of thought process went through when this decision was made. I mean, I'm not losing complete sleep over it or raging mad about this, though. I just think it's an odd decision to go with, take this approach, turning Terry Bogard into a woman, to be exact. I'm surprised he didn't pick, I think, his brother Andy Bogard, if I'm saying the name correctly, or their friend Joe. I forgot the last name, to be exact. But really, Terry Bogard, a woman, really, SNK? I mean, that was the decision that was made on it. It's just an odd decision that you made to put, out of all the female characters you could have put into this all-female fighting game, to be exact, you decided to add Terry Bogard into a woman. It's just I just don't know what kind of thought process went through when you made that decision, though. Overall, I'm kind of mixed on this game in some ways, though. On one hand, I think the biggest thing has to be the control scheme, though, for me. On one hand, I think it's great that they have a simple control scheme, especially for those who are not great at fighting games, but I can see it at the same time as a turnoff, though. But I still don't hate the game or anything like that. It's just, it may not appeal to everybody, though. If you're a Switch owner right now, there isn't really a whole lot of fighting games out there at the moment, though. I know there are some other ones, I think like a BlazBlue crossover, although I did hear they're bringing a traditional BlazBlues as well, along with a Guilty Gear is also be coming over as well. We also know Dragon Ball FighterZ is coming over as well. So, I mean, there are some choices out there, but if you're looking for a true SNK fighting game right now, if you are a Nintendo Switch owner, though, it's either this or go with like downloading, you know, the arcade Neo Geo arcade classic games like the King of Fighter, I think it was 94 or 95, or either the Art of Fighting games, because I mean, if you're looking for that traditional fighting game, but otherwise this is probably your only option to a closest thing to the next gen King of Fighter game that was released on the PlayStation, though. I mean, it's not a bad game, though, but I can't see it appealing to a whole lot of people, though. PS4 owners, I'm pretty sure there are plenty of options of fighting games out there. If you're not down with the simple control scheme, I'm sure there are other fighting games you could pick. So, overall, it's not a bad game, but I can see it not appealing to everybody. Okay, this concludes this video review of SNK Heroine Tag Team Frenzy. And again, these are my opinion, but what are yours? What are your thoughts about SNK Heroine Tag Team Frenzy? Do you think the simple controls are going to be a turnoff for some people? Do you think it's a big deal? Do you think it's not a big deal? Do you like the interesting approach they take to the fighting mechanics for this, I believe it's one-on-one or 2-on-2 fighting game, to be exact? Do you agree with me that the story is forgettable? Do you think it's sort of an odd decision that they turned Terry Bogard into a woman? Do you think they could have picked another female character from their SNK library? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree with what I said? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. I appreciate it if you hit that like button, and I also appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button as well. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. There. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that will be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye!